Hey, this is Scott, and today I'm just here to talk about what has become quickly my favorite smartphone gimbal, the Freevision Vilta M. Alright, so just getting right into it, this gimbal is really awesome. I literally, when I took it out of the box, I literally said out loud, oh wow, because the grip on here is just so incredibly comfortable and just really great feeling. It has rubber on both sides. It's shaped absolutely perfectly, really easy to grip. This is small, of course, but it's not lightweight in a good way. It feels, it has some weight to it, like it's not cheap. And it's also made of plastic, but it feels really strong. It's definitely not a cheap build. And although a lot of the other gimbals are also plastic, this feels better than them, noticeably better than them if you hold them side by side. There are only a few buttons on here, 2 buttons on the front, 1 little trigger on the back, but they're all really quite easy to push and reach from the standard grip. You don't have to really adjust your grip or use 2 hands. And considering there's only effectively 3 buttons and 1 joystick on here, there's an incredible amount of functionality built into that, which we'll go into a little bit later in the video. So unlike a lot of the gimbals lately, this actually does not come with a mini tripod. There is a screw thread at the bottom here, so if you have a mini tripod or if you want to attach anything else here, you can, but it's not included with this. And I think that the reason that they decided to go without that is because it has a bit of a wider base and it does actually stand up very well on its own without the mini tripod. So it's not quite as stable as a mini tripod, of course, but it can stand on its own if you need it to for whatever reason. And it does have that screw thread down here also, so you can attach one if you have it, or if you get it separately. There is also this wrist strap, which is attached here. This comes with it, so you can hold this around your wrist if you don't want to drop it. You want a little extra security while you're carrying it, so that's pretty nice as well. The case it comes with is also pretty compact. It doesn't have to fit a mini tripod in here, so it can save a little bit of space. But there's nothing special in here, just you have the cable and a strap for the case itself. And it's kind of contoured to fit the gimbal. But there are no specific pockets or anything for this cable or this mini strap. I kind of wish there were. That's my only kind of complaint about the case. Otherwise, it fits in here very well. It's compact since you don't have to have any extra space for the mini tripod, so that lets the case itself be a little bit smaller. This could very easily fit into a backpack or something. The gimbal itself is smaller than others as well, so before I start rambling on too much, let's very quickly go over some of the base specs and then we'll dive a little bit more into the functionality of how this works. This has a 17-hour battery life, which is very long, a lot longer than the Feiyutech Gimbal 2, for example. A very good battery life. And this actually does have intelligent battery management for a safer and longer battery life. I don't know the details of that, of course, but they do have a system in here to help you kind of make the most of this battery that they do have in here. It's rechargeable via USB, which was included in the case as well. You can use the gimbal while you're charging it, but you can't charge your phone from this gimbal, which I think is one of the only fairly significant downsides compared to some of the others on the market. Most of them can charge your phone. Whether or not they come with a cable that makes it work is depending on which gimbal you get, but this one does not actually even have that option. There's no USB or any kind of plug where you can plug it straight into your phone. But, that's one of the only downsides that I can see. In terms of how it actually deals with your phone being in here, there are a couple of small little touches that are really awesome, and I really do appreciate. They have a little sensor in the grip that actually can sense if you have a phone in there or not. So if you don't have a phone in there, it won't let you turn on the motors, which is really good because it can damage them, and I have done that before with others accidentally. So it's nice that they have that kind of safety protection built into this to protect the motors, and again, that helps it to last longer. When you have the app open, it will also give you a prompt if your phone is not balanced that well, again, to help to prevent any damage or prevent overworking the motors. Just really nice little touches to help to maintain the life of this gimbal. If you want to use an action cam like a GoPro in here, of course, though, it won't cover that sensor that I mentioned, so you can turn that option off in the app if you want to use that. So just turn it off first, and then you can use a GoPro or something in here, and you won't have any issues. The size and weight capacity is between 48 and 85 millimeters, and up to about 230 grams of a max, which is definitely not bad at all compared to the others on the market. So in terms of how this actually works, of course, first off, you're going to snap your phone into this clamp, which is the same as all the other ones. You stretch it out and put your phone in there and then push it all the way over to the side motor. And then there's a large screw around the rear motor that you're going to loosen, and you can slide the arm back and forth until you find balance and tighten it back up. To be honest, this is probably my least favorite part about this whole gimbal, just because, I don't know, it feels a little bit clunky compared to how smooth and nice everything else in this gimbal is. It works incredibly nicely, but this does work as well. It's just not quite as smooth as some of the other features on here. But again, that's how you're going to balance it on this gimbal in particular. So just to go over the buttons a bit, the power button, of course, turns the power on and off. To do so, just hold it down for a couple of seconds and it will turn it on or turn it off. If you press it once, it will actually go into a kind of standby mode, which is really nice. Like I mentioned before, if you get an email or something, or just you want to browse through the videos and photos on your phone, being able to put it in a standby mode lets you mess with your phone without having to worry about damaging the motors. I think that's just a really nice small touch that I do appreciate when the gimbal has it, and then you just put this once more and it will go back into live mode, I guess you could say. The camera button also has a couple of different functions. If you push it once, it will take a photo, and if you push it twice, it will reverse to the back-facing cam. Push it twice to switch back, and then if you hold it down for a couple of seconds, it will start and stop your video recording. So this trigger button here is where a lot of the power of this gimbal comes from. You can do a ton of stuff based off this trigger button, so let's go through those one by one. If you tap this once, it will put it into pan follow mode. If you tap this twice, it will put it into full follow mode. Tapping it 3 times will put it back into the home position, and it will stay in the mode that you were in before that. And tapping it 4 times will put this into full lock mode. There is actually also one more mode that you can access through the app, which is the POV mode, which will follow every movement, the roll, the tilt, and the pan. So that's really nice. You get 4 total modes here, plus the option to return to home position with 3 taps of the button. The light on the handle here will change colors as you change modes, and if you can remember what those colors mean, then you can know which mode you're currently in when you're using this, which is a really nice little feature too. So you might think that that's all that this trigger can do, but it's not. If you hold it down for a couple of seconds, it will focus your camera. If you hold it down and move the joystick left and right, it will control the roll axis of your gimbal. Tap that 3 times to return to home position, and then finally, if you hold it down and move the joystick up and down, it will zoom your camera in and out. So yes, this can control 4 modes, return to home position, it can control the roll axis, and it can also zoom your camera in and out, all based off of just these 3 buttons and 1 joystick. So being able to zoom your camera in and out does mean that, yes, again, you can create a dolly zoom effect with this gimbal. That's something that the Zhiyun Smooth 4 kind of touts as their flagship feature. And of course, with the wheel, the dedicated wheel, you can feel it more, you can control the speed a little bit more. Again, like I've said before, it's not perfect anyway, but you do have a little more control over it. However, with this, you still can create that effect. Finally, this can actually pan 360 degrees around, which is something that no other smartphone gimbal in this price range can do, which is very nice. It's nice to not have that limitation. You don't ever come up against, a hard edge. You can rotate 360 degrees with absolutely no problem. So in terms of performance, this is really, really good. It's at the very least as good as any other gimbal that I've tested. Of course, if you're a heavy walker or when you're running, with each impact you might still see some little micro vibrations. It's kind of unavoidable with something like this. But the performance is definitely as good or better than any other gimbal that I've tested, even more expensive ones, which is really nice. The actual movement of this gimbal, it follows your movement very, very smoothly. And actually, it doesn't quite follow these small little turns and little movements that you make as jumpy as some of the others do, which is really, really nice, because then you get some jumpy footage, and this is a little bit more steady. Even as you move your hand a little bit around, you can't hold your hand perfectly still, of course. It doesn't follow those unless it's very clear that you do want to make that motion. So you can adjust all of these parameters in the app, and it's very easy to do so. Of course, you can adjust the speed. There's also a couple of presets. There's a walking preset, a sports preset, and then you can just have custom control over the speed of each axis. And there's also controls over things like the deadband. What's really great is it actually explains to you in the app what that control does, because not a lot of people might know what deadband does, but it has a really clear explanation right within the app where you can know what each of these adjustments is affecting and how it's going to result in your actual performance. So anybody can get a really, really high level of performance. They can really customize this to how they want it to work very easily and very in-depth. It's got a lot of control, but at the same time very accessible to new users. I like that combination because I've had gimbals before, even larger gimbals that do have, of course, that high level of control over the parameters, but it's not so user-friendly. This is user-friendly, but you still have that very, very deep level of control. That's amazing. Really great job. In terms of the app, it is really, really great. There's no crashes or anything. I can't find any bugs in it. Everything that's in there works as it should, and everything is very well thought out. All of the options are very clear. There's nothing in there that you're kind of wondering, what is this supposed to do? What is the effect of this? Everything is very well thought out and very clearly explained within this app. All of the functions work really, really well, like the time lapse, the motion time lapse, the motion lapse. You can do a lot with it. And it's really, really easy to use, very straightforward, and just, I love this app. It's one of the best. I will have another video specifically talking about this app in depth. So if you want to see that, which I recommend you do, this is the best app for any smartphone gimbal that I've used so far. I will put the link in the description below when that's ready, so be sure to check that out. I did also test this with an Android, and it works flawlessly. Again, it connects very quickly and easily. All of the functions and everything in there work flawlessly. There is a difference between the iPhone app and the Android app, and what's really great is Freevision actually has a list, a comprehensive list of all of those differences between the two apps. So they're very honest and very transparent about those differences. It's due to limitations of the phone, basically, but they have that list, so they're on top of it. It's not a mistake, it's not a bug or anything like that. They're very, very straightforward about that, which is really awesome. They have a very good support team for the app and also the gimbal, of course, very responsive. And they're constantly developing things. If you mention anything to them, they will definitely look into it and definitely get back to you. I really like the support from the company as well, which is a big part of it. So everything is here. The quality of the gimbal, the build quality, the functionality has pretty much every function you could possibly want, except for the fact that it doesn't charge your phone. And also the app itself, it works, I don't want to say perfectly because I feel like it's going to be something, but as far as I can tell, it works perfectly. And it also works on Android. So I really can't complain about this at all. This is by far my favorite of the smartphone gimbals that I've reviewed so far. So as always, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below and I'll definitely get back to you. I'll have a link for this down there as well so you can check it out. If you like this video or find it helpful, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to see more in the future, and as always, thank you for watching.